Ego takes the wheel. They both snap. Oh my gosh. Welcome back, everybody, to the Infinity Gauntlet. I guess I should introduce myself since it's my first time around these parts. Chris, aka Christo, may have seen me hang around Gwent, may have seen me hang around Cards. That's Cards with a K. But today we are talking Marvel Snap, and you may recognize this lovely gentleman that I'm here with, mostly probably because of the beard, but and an excellent beard it is. We have Blevins here with us to cast his own match, and I will explain exactly why. Actually, that's not true. It'd be more fun if I let you explain why, but we'll just say he's got to pay some penance here. And that's why he's here.
Yeah, so, if you've ever streamed anything or tried to record something, sometimes the recording software doesn't work, and it will explode in a violent ball of flames in the middle of your match, and you can't do anything because you've already played out a bunch of the match and you didn't realize it until that point. So we're going to be casting a match that I'm actually in, as you may remember me from the other matches earlier in this very tournament. But we're going to be casting a match that I'm in against Specimen, because we don't actually have my perspective, because I'm a big dumb doo-doo head, as our good friend Admirable has certainly pointed out to me many times. I kid, I love Admirable. But yeah, so I'm paying my price here on the caster desk because my side did not get recorded. So we're gonna take a look at that.
Little oopsie daisy there. No big deal. You're here to break it down. You can walk us through it. I get to dive into your deep, dark maybe not that deep, maybe not that dark.
Well, they're definitely not that deep. Maybe dark though. I don't know.
Let's steer away from that. It's a family-friendly show, I think. I guess that'll be determined by the end of this series.
Sure.
What that rating is. So why don't we get into it, Blevins? Since you're here, why don't we have you take us through your deck?
Yeah, absolutely. So this deck that we're going to be looking at here, of course, this is on the loser side, as we already saw my match where I was already playing this deck. My first deck was way more fun. It was the what I like to call Battle of Wits deck, which any old school Magic players will understand that reference, but I'm not going to get into it now. Basically, I just didn't decide what deck I wanted to play, so I jammed cards from all of them into one giant deck, and I played multiple decks in one deck. Because I heard I like decks, so I put a deck in my deck so I can play my deck while I play my deck. But this one is much more straightforward. It's a Shuri Taskmaster Red Skull deck with Arnim Zola. There's really not too much to go into here. And I ended up playing against, as we mentioned earlier, Specimen here, who's playing a Thanos deck. Relatively standard Thanos with Lockjaw, Quinjet. It does have the Kang as well, which is it can be standard. I think you can kind of jam Kang into any deck and it feels pretty good, but the standard cards like Blue Marvel, Arrow, Leech, all cards that I really don't want to see my opponent playing. Of course, Specimen has jammed all of them into this Thanos deck here.
That's right. Now, I've known Specimen for a while, casted with him in Gwent, played with him in Gwent. He is one of the most creative deck builders out there.
Mm-hmm.
This is not one of those decks. So I think, we've covered both decks. I think we're ready to go here. So let's dive into this very one-sided matchup here, where we will have Blevins' thoughts, but not necessarily his video.
We're gonna see here. I'm Spider-Man memeing Speci, and I insta snap here. So the reasoning behind this is, if you've been following the 983 Media YouTube channel, you'll know that Specimen and I did an episode of a Marvel Snap episode on the very channel many months ago when Snap first came out, and I specifically said if I ever see Specimen and play against him, I will snap instantly. Now, this was well before battle mode came out. This was well before thinking that we would ever play in a tournament against each other, but I stayed true to it, and I snap Specimen every single game here just because I said I would many months ago, having no idea that this tournament was coming up.
A man of his word. I can appreciate that. I do sort of question the logic of maybe doing it after the first time. Did it need
Oh
to be
yeah.
every
I
time,
mean,
Blevins? Did it need to be every
it
time?
was never a good idea. I won't I cannot argue that it was a good idea. I'm just saying that's why I did it.
Fair enough. Getting into turn three, I mean, Spessie's doing pretty standard Infinity Stone things, getting the lockjaw, dropping a stone here. You've got the zero going on board. Do you remember what you were thinking at this point in time?
Yeah, I don't remember exactly because I don't remember exactly what my hand is. The biggest talking point is going to come up on the last turn of this game, which I remember very specifically. And this is a it will I think turn 5 and turn 6 are going to be very impactful. What I will say is that I felt relatively confident going into the final turns of this game. As you know, the standard Thanos deck is one that you see a ton on ladder, as well as the Shuri deck. I mean, this is a matchup
Mhm.
that both of us have probably played dozens and dozens of times on ladder, not even with outside testing, just because of the nature of it. Now, Leech coming down certainly is certainly annoying, but as you see, I have the
You got the
Shuri, so
Shuri.
I've got the ability that I want, and there are cards like Red Skull. There are pretty much the only thing that really hurts is if I get my arrow leeched, and if I get like Taskmaster leech, that's also annoying. I guess She Hulk to a lesser extent as well turns off some of my options, but as we'll see in a few turns here, one of those cards did not get hit specifically, and it's going to end up playing out well as we'll see here.
At the same time, Specimen's hand is fairly stacked. He's got
Yeah,
everything he wants in there. He's got his Devil Dinosaur. He's got his Thanos. He's got the Shang-Chi that he's probably holding on to, figuring you're going Shuri into Red Skull. There's going to be a
right.
big boy on the board to take out. So Spessie's probably feeling okay. He's just got to sort out where things are going because, that given moving Lockjaw over though just feels so good when you're able to. Actually, he's cycled through most of his stones at this point, so
Oh,
it's
he's
not
got
even
every stone.
necessary.
Yeah, we can see the Thanos actually already
Yeah.
has the buff from the Power Stone, so has cycled through every stone. Now, the one thing about Lockjaw is, yes, it can high roll and get a lot of stats. The one thing that Lockjaw is very bad at doing is ensuring that you get the highest amount of stats on the last turn as you can,
Mhm.
right? Um, because it's random what you get. Now we see the Kang here, the Kang comes down. I am currently going to be winning middle. That's a foregone
Huh?
conclusion. So we'll see what I end up playing here. I'm trying to remember, but like the lanes are inverted for me here, so I don't
Oh,
remember exactly which lane I play on. But
fair.
I am going to be staying in here, and of course we see the Kang come out.
And that's, you bring up a great lockjaw point because while Spezia has all of the cards he wants, he can't play them all, right? He has to
Right.
make that choice. Is it more impactful to play the Shang-Chi to try and take out a Taskmaster that might come, knowing that he leached, so probably not? This
It's
actually
less
could give
likely.
him some good information if you do decide to drop, let's say, a Taskmaster that hasn't been leached.
Yeah, that's the big thing about the leech is that it could lure you into a false sense of security if you're not sure. Like if I draw something uh that I wouldn't want to get leeched after the fact that the leech happens, is less likely that I have it. But if I do have it, it doesn't matter how likely it is or not. I just do have it. So here's a scenario here. So I play the arrow and I play. Okay, if I recall correctly, we both got disconnected because I remember getting disconnected. Um, so here's a scenario where I make a play. I actually end up making the same play here. Um, and this was me not understanding the interaction between arrow and lockjaw because I make the same play thinking in my mind that, oh, you can play something huge here, but it's going to get lockjawed away. So it doesn't matter, right? I'm thinking that if I pull something with arrow, it's still going to end up getting lockjawed, which is just, as we'll see,
But
is just not how the card works, and I end up getting, well, we'll see
well,
here in a
y-
second.
you have initiative, correct? So the card reveals first and then gets pulled over. If sorry, Specimen has
Specimen
initiative. If
does.
you had initiative and pulled the card over before it's revealed, would
It
Lockjaw then would take
That's a
effect,
great
correct?
question. I still don't know the answer to that, but I'm thinking it possibly doesn't. And I'm sure someone in the comments will point this out. But regardless, I thought that it would work the way I wanted to,
Mhm.
whether I had priority or not. So I ended up making the same play. Specimen makes the correct play of playing the Thanos over there. I end up with not that much power, and Spessy gets a huge win there. If you did see my side here, you would see me going, "Oh, I got him with this. I got him with the arrow," and then me going, "Oh, that's
Mhm.
just not how the card works." Well, that's not great.
That,
Uh,
did not feel good. I cannot imagine
no.
that feeling particularly good, especially when you
Well,
think, "Hey, I've got this," and there
I
you go
did think
snapping
I
at
got
someone.
it. Now, again, I am friends with Specimen, so this is a battle amongst friends, one way or the other. As you see, I held true
Yes.
to my convictions here. I did snap sight unseen on turn 1 here.
And
And hey,
and Spessy
making a
takes
little
off.
progress here. Yeah.
Look at that. Gets you
I
a
mean,
game.
on the one hand, yes, that's a great way for me to get a free cube. On the other hand, like, this is a recipe for Specimen just waiting to have a very, very good hand and then winning the match, which we'll see if that happens or not. I can still I can still theoretically make a comeback here. Like, if Specimen doesn't wanna stay in, we're gonna be in, double cube
Mhm.
realm very soon, which then puts me to a point where I just have to win, which is, not really where you wanna be, but at this point, when I've lost 8 cubes on the first game, I've kind of painted myself into a corner one way or the other, so I just gotta try something here.
Oh, you're absolutely playing on borrowed time at this point. Like you said, Spessy can kinda just sit there and wait and go, "Yeah, I'll wait for my lockjaw and a handful of stones, thank you very much."
Yep. I did get a little bit of value off the Polaris here, as
Mhm.
obviously I'm able to pull a stone into Jotunheim, which is great. So I'm feeling pretty good about this lane here. Now, Specimen does get the early She-Hulk, which is not which is generally not necessarily when you want to be playing the She-Hulk, but Specimen does know, again, open deck list. I don't have Shang-Chi
Yes.
in my deck, so I don't have a huge punish for this early She-Hulk, unfortunately for me.
And that is that difference, right? Where you just
Yeah.
get that sense of comfort knowing, "Hey, I can drop She-Hulk and there is absolutely nothing Blevins can do about it."
Yeah.
You get the Shuri out though, which can potentially lead to a fair amount of points on your side of the board as well. So that's still an option there. There's still hope.
Yeah. I've got the giant arrow trying to pull whatever they play into Jotunheim as well. Technically I'm winning here on in Jotunheim right now. Now, of course, that can certainly change with Shang-Chi. Again, I have painted myself into the corner via my snap strategy from the earlier games, and also this one, where I literally, even if I think I'm 100% to lose, if I retreat, I'm just dead anyway. So I need to just try to win here, see what happens. Specimen going to take the Kang here, just to get a look see. I'm just trying to put as much power in as I can. Now, I don't remember how I play out this last turn, but one thing that I have tried to do when playing against Kang is to, even if the play that I made initially is the, quote unquote strongest play, I'm going to try to do something at least slightly different, even if it's less powerful,
Mhm.
just to try to throw off what my opponent is doing, or to throw off my opponent as to what they think I'm doing.
Yeah, I mean, playing the same thing at the end of the day, if you were able to do that and your opponent knows it's coming,
Yeah,
you'd imagine they would retreat, right? That would be
right.
the logical solution. So you've got to do something different. Otherwise, you have to imagine they've got you. And there you see Spessy dropping the arrow to pull
Yeah.
over whatever you play into that lane that he's expecting to lose anyway.
Yeah, Arrow, has the hidden game text of, if you're winning 2 lanes on turn 6 and you have priority, you win the game. A lot of the time, especially against my deck with the inability to play a lot of different,
Mhm.
a lot of smaller units. I think I'm here trying to. Oh, I do remember this a bit actually. I'm actually trying to play around Arrow here. I remember. I'm like, okay, I can actually beat Arrow here, assuming that Specimen probably has an arrow, or it's at least in their range to have it. How can I beat Arrow? And I actually put out a play that beats Arrow. It unfortunately, as we see here, does not beat Arrow plus another unit, unfortunately. So because of the Soul Stone's ongoing ability, I end up losing by 1, and I end up thereby losing the match.
And losing your tournament life as well. So you have paid your penance twice over by joining us here in the casting booth, as well as losing the or getting bumped out of the tournament, out of this double elimination event, and Speci will be moving on here.
Yeah, I mean, I think really, really well played by Specimen. I don't know that I ended up messaging him afterwards saying, yeah, he's like, I felt really bad snapping you on that re-snapping you on that first game, and I said, don't feel bad. I literally planned to snap you every single round from the onset when I knew that we were playing, and he just was laughing at that. It's like, yeah, remember when we did that show a while ago? Yeah, I said if we ever met in a game, I would snap. Didn't say that it was a tournament or not.
Well, hopefully you got this out of your system now, so next time you face
I don't have any unless I end up playing against Charmer, who has also been on various shows. I will probably auto snap Charmer, but I don't think I have any other standing auto snap if I see them agreements on record right now. So
This episode of the Infinity Gauntlet is brought to you by BCW Supplies, our go-to source for protecting our prized collectibles. From cards to comics to coins, BCW Supplies has top-tier options to store, protect, and show off your rarest gems. Head over to bcwsupplies.com and use the code ISP10 to get 10% off your entire order. BCW Supplies. Protect, store, display.
It's the Infinity Gauntlet presented by 983 Media. I'm That's Admirable. I'm joined by Ben Brode for this cast right now. Ben, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling great. I love casting with you, Admirable. It's so much fun.
I will say that you have been a big inspiration to the energy I want to bring to a desk, but it is nigh unmatchable for who Ben Brode is.
Oh, you're an inspiration to me. That's why I love high energy.
That's how you get to that perpetual increase of it that completely defies the laws of thermodynamics.
I was doing a filming session, and they were asking for more energy, and I was like, "Do you want max energy?" And I just went, "Wah!" And the sound engineer just rips his headphones off. He's like, "Oh!" I was like, "Oh, my bad. My top gear is higher than a lot of folks."
So if you're watching right now, be sure to maybe keep an eye on where your volume is, unless you like having your ears blown out by Ben Brode.
No, I'm not going to go there.
Oh, okay. Well, at least we know we have that reserved. We're coming into losers bracket round number 2 right now, which means the deck lists are open for this match. We have Cozy taking on Tia Beastie in this one, and since they've been moved to the losers bracket, that means they're having to use their secondary decks. So let's go ahead and take a look at that one, starting off with Tia's right now. And Tia is playing sort of like the old school lockjaw style deck, where you're trying to get a lockjaw in play and then just make some powerful stuff happen with a Wasp available in the deck, a lot of cheap one-cost cards, and maybe even Jubilee to bolster that power even more.
Jubilee into Wasp, not a good play, but Wasp is really interesting, right? If you are going to end the game with a slot available at a location and hands in your card, but you're out of energy, cards in your hand, but you're out of energy, you'd rather like one of those cards be a Wasp, right? You can just sneak a little extra power onto the board. I like Wasp.
A decent argument, I would say, but you also have a Wasp in your deck. So sometimes when you're at the end and you have plenty of energy left, but Wasp is your card, maybe sometimes you'd rather have something else there.
Possible.
Yeah. Pros and cons on both sides of it. Let's take a look at Cozy's side, where he has named the deck Rocks and Hawks in this one, and you are really trying to take advantage of Dark Hawk in this one. There's so many ways to fill up your opponent's hand, and they're just trying to really cycle through these. Sometimes you'll have Moon Girl to double these up, but the main goal is fill your opponent's deck with rocks, get a Dark Hawk into play, and then play Mystique to buff that effect. And sometimes you can even do that with Devil Dinosaur. Sometimes you can Moon Girl and play 2 She-Hulks at the end with another 4-cost card. There are a lot of power plays that are in this, But if you don't have your strong cards early on, sometimes you can get kind of muscled out of the game by having just a bunch of cards in your hand.
This deck has Zabu in it. Zabu's back. Here we go.
It's definitely playable in this deck. I'm not going to say that Zabu's back.
Zabu's back. I am going to say it.
Zabu is currently here, but I have been overridden by Ben Brode. Zabu is back. It has been decreed so. All right. Well, with that, one of these players is going home and out of the tournament. That's how the losers bracket works. You lose twice, you're done, and they're already here. So let's get into the match. Cozy versus Tia Beastie.
Can't everyone win? Isn't that...
No, Ben, not everyone can win. Take me, for instance. I am a loser. You know how many YouTube comments I've read about that?
Not today, Admiral.
Vormir, the first location here, and I feel like that's pretty good for Tia, who's kicking it off with the hood into this lane. You know, -2 power now becomes 0.
Yeah. Oh, wow. She likes it a lot, actually.
Yeah, Tia has had like a...
Cozy is like, what? Is that how this is going to go? You're going to turn one snap me every game? Vormir can't be that good.
Tia has a strong history with card games, coming in from high-level play in Gwent, or she was a caster for the game as well. And I feel like that Marvel Snap really suits the style that Gwent was bringing to the table, where it's setting up your plays, anticipating what your opponent's going to do, and then taking advantage of the powerful stuff that you can.
Quinjet.
Cozy, I am not sure how to interpret the facial reaction that Cozy is having right now.
Quinjet's pretty good with Agent Coulson in that deck, and with Moon Girl.
If you drew Agent Coulson here, are you going to consider the Mystique onto Quinjet? Apparently not. Just
here we go. Admirable, here goes Zabu.
2 power onto the board.
Oh, and the Wasp is doing the work that Wasp is supposed to do.
Oh, no! Korg is doing the work that Korg is supposed to do!
Oh.
Agent Coulson. Yeah, Cozy trying to figure out which emoji is going to deliver the most mental tax onto Tia's side.
Yep. Here goes Coulson. Gonna get that free... Get the cheaper cards here with Quinjet. Oh, that's a better flip.
Slightly better, I'll say. Wow, Cozy's gotten some interesting cards in hand as well. Dazzler, Dr. Octopus can be a really powerful one. Oh, Shang-Chi is an available play for Cozy right now. In the Vault, I mean, this is the last turn for the Vault.
I think Tia's feeling pretty good about that early snap. Things have turned out well so far. With the Vault going down, Spider-Man can be very relevant here. I guess not really. Dark Dimension turns off Spider-Man. The Vault's going to make Spider-Man a little less useful, but I guess Vormir could be webbed up. It probably locked in Vormir anyway.
Yeah, I think without a Shang-Chi, I think that T is feeling very comfortable about the Vormir lane. And so I think it really is going to boil down to how the rest of this works out.
She's got Dr. Doom, too.
This is a tough one to figure out here because both players just have so much available to them.
Dazzler got real cheap there, the Quinjet and the Zabu.
Zabu's back. All you need is one additional card. So Vault is not entirely locked up here. So for Cozy,
we got Mystique here, copying Darkhawk, and the Shang-Chi is going to hit Infinite.
Wow,
that's not great for Vormir there for Tia. That's whew.
This is a peculiar spot. So if you play Dr. Doom from Tia's side, what that means is you need the Dr. Doom to go off first. So Dr. Doom is going to fill up the left side. It's going to put additional 5 into the center and 5 onto the right. That means that the Tiger would have to go to the center for Tia at that point. So the question is, do you want it to land there? We're going to lock it in and see what happens here. That's a lot of extra power you're getting from Mystique. Shang-Chi's going to wipe it out and lock up the left location. Where does this Tiger go? Well, not quite where you wanted it, I don't think.
Oh, yeah, that was too bad. If it went middle, that would have been game.
Wow, 50-50 at the end. 4 cubes.
If she had played Dr. Doom to Vormir, would that have... you can't because of lock? Lockjaw?
It's the priority that's being had there. So with Cozy having priority in that spot, the Shang-Chi goes off. So it still ends up being a 50-50.
You're right. You're right.
Yeah.
Wow. 4 cubes down, and we get that turn one step again.
I will say that Tia's hand is a lot better in this one, and there's not a Korg to just, put a dead card in the deck at this point.
Yeah, I got the Lockjaw and the Wasp and the Jubilee.
Yeah, that's like the ideal kind of opener from Tia's deck.
She's drawn basically all the cards you don't want to get out of Lockjaw and Jubilee.
Yeah, she's kind of drawn some cards that you do want to get, though, like with Dr. Doom showing up. Oh, the Rock is back in!
Uh-oh.
Is the Broad curse real?
Korg is good. Here we go.
She's going to go with the Wasp right away to try to get the extra power.
Oh, just nothing for Cozy to play here on turn 3. He needs Zabu. Wow!
Not again! Wow! Space Throne!
Wow!
Another Space Throne!
No! Now he can't even Shang-Chi the Infinite! Holy cow!
I don't know about you, Ben, but I'm going to go ahead and retreat if I am Cozy.
Well, yeah, there's no snap here because he's already snapped, so there's no reason to. Oh, look at that. Oh, that's a great hood there. Playing the hood is going to get destroyed any way you want it to be destroyed. That is awesome.
Like, Tia can just do nothing and just continue to buff the Sunspot and figure out how to win the Darkhawk lane afterwards.
That's probably the right thing to do, right?
I'm not entirely sure because Sunspot...
Shang-Chi can take out Sunspot if it gets too powerful.
So that's like the key there is where's that balance come in and how do you actually take advantage of that?
A lot of power going down here to Hala.
Oh, jeez.
Hala.
Cozy's having a tough time. Is it going to be Mystique to buff this? Is it going to be Rock Slide to buff this instead? Which one provides you more?
Well, Rock Slide puts a bunch of rocks in your opponent's deck, so that feels good. Oh, Spider-Man. Oh, this is basically it for Cozy. Can only play 1 card, 2 Space Throne on this turn, and that's it.
And Cozy does not have initiative. So are you going to take the gambit for this one? Do you just play Devil Dinosaur? That's going to be 13 on the left.
Yeah, it's not enough.
Oh, Tia has to do something.
America Chavez to the right ties up Hala. Is there any way to shuffle some more cards into your opponent's deck here from Cozy? I guess not. Already played Korg and Rock Slide. Can't get stronger Darkhawk here.
Tia does nothing here, and it's a Mystique into the left. That means Tia would win that lane.
She's got it even with America Chavez right. She's still got it because she'll tie right at Hala, and she's winning by 20 in the middle. So that's just you can't win that tiebreaker.
Cozy's gonna lock it in. Wow.
There's the tie. It's not enough of a tiebreaker. Tia gets it. Huge. She brings it way back. Are they tied up now? 6-6?
That was back-to-back snaps, back-to-back lock it in at 4 cubes each.
Oh, let's see if she does it again here. Turn 1 snap.
Look, here's the rule.
That's not a good turn 1 snap hand. That is not it.
Well, hang on. Okay, now it's not a good one.
Both players' hands are very slow. Now, Wakanda is good. Wakanda against Shang-Chi.
Mojo World.
Oh, there's the Zabu.
Hang on. This is the Lockjaw rule. If you draw Lockjaw in a Lockjaw deck, snap. That's the rule. I'm setting that rule in.
But like all of the cards, like Hood's in her deck, Sunspots in her deck, Wasp in her deck.
Yeah, don't worry about that. Don't worry about that.
What are you gonna play? Doctor like Jubilee into.
Look, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
Oh, he got a 3-cost card, a 4-cost card from Colston that gets reduced by Zabu. It always gives you a 4-cost card, right?
Yeah, Dracula, I don't think the ideal one you're going for here. A lot of these cards are kind of, they buffed up as they come into the field.
Here's interesting Moon Girl. He's only going to get the left cards in his hand. So he's going to get Darkhawk, Shang-Chi, and that's it.
I think it's good enough.
Shang-Chi's is not bad.
2 Darkhawks not bad either.
Yeah, Darkhawks is what you want, yeah.
Here we go, Jubilee.
Korg making those Darkhawks even better. Who's coming?
Oh,
out? No! I told you, it's not great. It's not great.
Wait, hang on. Round two.
Hood next, watch. Oh,
okay. Acceptable. That can be kind of bad for Tia here, though. Because this also opens up like a Shang-Chi in the middle. And with Mojo World, just whoever has more units here.
Yeah, that's horrible. That would clinch that location. And with Zabu, you could do Shang-Chi and something else on the same turn, on the last turn of the game.
So here's what I'm thinking now is how do you take advantage of the Spider-Man? And is it going to be good enough?
Spider-Man could be big here. Oh, Arrow's going to... Oh, Cozy is... Just another
snaps.
snap! Oh, wow.
And Cozy says, raw power? I don't know. Cozy looking puzzled about this one. Oh, Vision. Vision's kind of a nice play here, actually, because with 2/3 cost Darkhawks in your hand, you get a lot of ways to manipulate how this board's going to pan out.
Yep. A lot of options on the final turn. You could do double Shang-Chi. You could do double Darkhawk. You could do one of each. If he draws Mystique, you could go Darkhawk, Darkhawk, Darkhawk.
How many Darkhawks is too many? Nobody knows.
Vision.
Spider-Man.
Oh, wow. That is... Oh, you know what? That's much weaker because of the Vision.
Yeah. It's a great counter to Spider-Man is having this big movable unit.
Just a really rough draw. All of the one-cost cards. Lockjaw's been pretty rough here. There's the Shang-Chi. Moving Vision into take Hala.
Yeah, and I think Darkhawk is enough to lock up the left side of this as well. It's only anything. 8?
So Ironheart could... No. Yeah, there's not...
No, it's not here.
There's not... Yeah, it's got to be a retreat, right?
If I'm in Tia's spot, I'm definitely retreating here. Your opponent played
Vision
Moon Girl,
really...
and then your opponent played Vision with a Zabu in play.
What a great counter to Spider-Man. Just the perfect card to get in there.
Tia's adding the demon to the right side.
Demon, yeah, that would bring her over the top there.
Yeah, how do you win the left?
Yeah, I don't know.
So Tia's just saying no Shang-Chi, no problem.
That could be it. Does enough power to Sunspot? Oh, there's the reverse snap.
Oh my! So
that's
Cozy,
for the game. If she stays in here, that's the whole thing. That's the whole life bar. Is she willing to throw the whole thing away here?
Cozy threw the salute too of like, all right, we're going for it then.
Oh, here we go.
Wow, Mojo World easily locked up. No contesting from Tia on the left.
Yeah, a little extra power to Sunspot doesn't matter when 100 extra powers at stake. Oh, ouch. Cozy
Tia
takes it.
Tia's going home, and Cozy with a blowout win in this one. This was snap complete the round, snap complete the round, double snap complete the round.
Boom.
This is like the quickest match we've had the whole tournament.
Wow.
This is the way that Marvel Snap was meant to be played.
I love the aggressive snapping from Tia. It almost panned out. There was just some unlucky lockjaw action there. That was too bad.
You said it right at the start. Lockjaw into Wasp can be bad. That's not the play you're looking for in this one. Tia's not walking home empty-handed. You do get to share the prize pool for all 16 competitors in the Invitational. Cozy is moving on in this one, but if they lose another round, they're going to be out of it on this one. So we got some more Marvel Snap that's coming up. So make sure you stay here. And if you haven't seen the previous matches, check them out here on 983 Media. We got all the matches uploaded here on YouTube.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to 983 Media Infinity Gauntlet Marvel Snap Invitational. I am Blevins, joined by KM Best. What's up, buddy?
What's going on, y'all? I'm KM Best. I'm honored to be here, and I can't wait to watch some Marvel Snap.
Yeah, we've got an absolutely fantastic match today. As you can tell, since we're here, well, if it hasn't already been revealed, we did lose. We're spoiling it now. I'm pretty sure that we're figuring out the puzzle so that this isn't a spoiler, but we are here casting and happy to be here because we are here in the losers round 2 casting Mogwai versus Raven. So KM Best, Let's take a look at those decks before we jump into the match.
Yeah, so these two decks, they're both Thanos decks, but they're built a little bit differently than one might expect, or at least, you know, one of them is built significantly differently than one might expect. The deck that Mogwai is playing, I remember seeing on Snap Twitter as a deck that won 2 separate French 64-plus person player tournaments. With the addition of Kang into it, what you'll notice about it is there's no Lockjaw in it. It's just a Thanos control deck. Instead of having the Lockjaw high roll, you have a slightly more consistent game plan. You have a Carnage, you have a Daredevil, you have Polaris, you have Cosmo, you have more interaction on the early side of the game. The downside, of course, is when you look at Raven's deck, there's a Leech in it. There's an America Chavez in it. There's some things you can pull on the top end, but the main major choice that Raven made is Raven brought Super Skrull in his otherwise typical Thanos deck. He brought Super Skrull and Kang, presumably for the mirror, but I gotta say, in this matchup, Super Skrull might be the single worst card in either of these two decks.
I was gonna ask, because Super Skrull, just looking at the decks, not a lot of targets. I mean, you can copy a Quinjet, a Cosmo. Maybe, which might end up being a detriment to you possibly. What is the Super Skrull? What matchup is the Super Skrull there for? I mean, they obviously brought this for a reason.
Well, normally, if you're looking at Raven's deck, you might expect the Thanos deck to play Blue Marvel and Devil Dinosaur. Unfortunately for Raven, there's no Blue Marvel, and there's no Devil Dinosaur in Mogwai's build.
Yeah, so Super Skrull maybe not being so super in this matchup. But hey, we don't know how this matchup is going to turn out, but we will very soon. KMBest, let's jump right into the match. All right, we've got one Snapman, aka Mogwai, here on the bottom, and Raven, of course, on the top here. Starting out with Camertage in the Thanos mirror. You'll love to see it.
Deck lists are open at this point, so what would normally likely be a snap from Mogwai playing the Time Stone onto Camertage this early is instead something he's going to be a lot more measured with, because Raven is also running those stones.
Yeah, and obviously you want to draw the cards early, and I'm assuming that's probably the biggest reason to play the Time Stone on the Camertage, but that is taking away a ramp opportunity. Is there something you're specifically looking to ramp into in this matchup if you're Mogwai?
Well, normally the Thanos deck tends to want to play Time Stone when it lets them play 2 5-cost cards, because they run so many of those in the typical list. Like, even you look at Raven's list, there's Kang, Leech, Arrow, Blue Marvel, right? Now, normally Kang would be something like Devil Dinosaur, for example. You'd really be wanting to do that double 5 play. But if you look at Mogwai's list, not nearly as reliant on that. It's a little bit of a different play pattern. So I don't necessarily think there's something he was supposed to save the Time Stone there that's more valuable than drawing 2 cards, especially in the context of it's a Thanos mirror. If your opponent goes, I don't know, Mind Stone into Reality Stone and you don't play a card on turn 1, suddenly you are not going to get to use that Camertage at all.
Right. Yeah, that's a really good point here. We've progressed a little bit here. Mogwai looking to fill the board up quite a bit. Has the Quinjet. We see the Polaris drawn. Looks like the Space Stone going to draw the 2 cards on Camertage, then be able to move one of these stones out. And now Mogwai also evening the super flow by pulling the Time Stone over with Polaris.
Ooh, that Quantum Realm is a really interesting hit, or it would be if one person didn't have a Sunspot there and the other person didn't have a Lockjaw there. But I do think there's something to this. You know, Raven now is locked. His Lockjaw lane without the Space Stone is going to be the Quantum Realm. It's not like he's going to be able to be pulling anything anywhere else. Mogwai, on the other hand, I almost feel like you see a situation like this, and you look at Mogwai's deck, and you're like, man, why isn't there a Blue Marvel in here?
Right.
That would be such a good card in this spot.
Yeah, there's definitely a reason why that card is a relatively stock card in the Thanos decks, and you're filling up most of the lanes a lot of the time, and just giving a potentially up to 12 additional stats across the board feels pretty good. Or I guess 11 doesn't pump itself.
Soulstone in the Quantum Realm would normally be pretty slick, but there's another Soulstone there, and there's a Lockjaw there. So it's sort of a question at this point of, is Raven going to play more stones there? And as we can see, it looks like Raven's going to play more stones there. So now it's a question of what's Raven going to draw off those stones.
Yeah, it feels like that is a lot of the times going to be what it comes down to. I mean, like you pointed out in the deep dive on the decks, the Lockjaw does bring this high roll potential, but it also comes at the cost of consistency, where a lot of the times Mogwai's deck is going to do what it wants to do, and that's a certain power level. Lockjaw can either throw that off by being way too powerful, or it can pull an arrow out early, and you've lost access to an arrow, which can be really powerful on turn 6, or it can just be a low roll on Lockjaw. So I'm very curious to see, is the Lockjaw high roll going to end up being a good thing or a bad thing for Raven as this match plays out?
I think on balance, I would expect it to be a good thing. It was definitely a good thing.
I would think so too. Yeah. I would think so, but also, there's something to be said about the variance that Lockjaw adds. Of course, you're favored for that to be in your, to be into your advantage, but it's not always the case.
Yeah. I mean, we see a Super Scroll coming down here from Raven, which is going to be a 4/2 with a Quinjet effect.
And it's also going to have the Power Stone effect too, technically.
Phenomenal. We have a combination Power Stone Quinjet, which Raven does have Thanos in hand. That could matter.
That would actually be hilarious if we see the Super Scroll be the effective Power Stone that gives Thanos the buff here.
He actually has exactly, he has Reality Stone, Power Stone. Yeah. That lets him play a 21 power Thanos. So he could play a 31 power Thanos if you wanted to.
Oh, that's right. It will give an additional power. That is something I don't think I've ever seen, is the double buff onto Thanos.
Well, we're looking at the classic Kang bluff snap here, which, outstanding. Well done. That's just kind of what you do. Raven stays in it because he's like, well, you're not beating 31. Right. And, there's the Kang. You expect the Kang. It's fine.
Murder World. The turn 6 Murder World doesn't quite do it. It would be funny if Murder World just destroyed at the end of this turn, regardless of what turn it was. Just a one turn effect.
I mean, funny is a word, but,
All right, so Mogwai now has the ability to see, can he beat what was put out by Raven, and can he beat a different combination of cards, or the cards put out in a different combination? It looks like Mogwai has actually snapped again here. Oh, this is a snap and retreat later. The classic.
Mogwai with some classic gamer plays here.
Yes. So now Raven just needs to stay in order to get cubes. Otherwise, ties are handled. No one loses cubes, right? I haven't actually seen a tie in
that is
in
correct,
battle mode. Okay. Very cool. It looks like Raven going to take that one down for a cube here. As we've seen in my match versus Raven, Raven is no coward, insta-snapping when Ego came out in our match. And if you haven't checked that one out, make sure to check out the second video of round 1 here in the Infinity Gauntlet. But we're jumping into game number 2 here, Mogwai versus Raven. And the Elysium basically giving the Quinjet to everyone's deck here for both players.
The Elysium is really good for Mogwai here because he already has a Sunspot on the board. Mm-hmm. And since there is a Sanctum Sanctorum, it's pretty much there are two things that matter here. One is, does either player draw Space Stone?
Yep.
And 2 is, if they do not, how big can they get? And right. Sunspot giving you power for all that extra energy that you float is really important when you're constrained on space and need to get tall.
True. Yeah, Sunspot very good at going tall, obviously. I guess the other consideration is if both players draw Space Stone, when is each player drawing Space Stone and who is putting what into Sanctum Sanctorum, right? I mean, you're not necessarily drawing it on the same time. You don't necessarily know if your opponent is going to have it and what they're going to put into the Sanctum Sanctorum. But Mogwai here with the early snap, much earlier than the final turn of last game.
Yeah, Raven opting, instead of waiting for the collapsed mine this turn, it seems as though he's going to wait for the collapsed mine next turn.
Sure.
Once he has the sunspot on the board to do that soaking as necessary.
Yeah, and it's interesting because, you know, Raven is obviously going to choose one turn to soak here with the collapsed mine, but there's already a She-Hulk, and if that sunspot somehow gets to 9 power, all of a sudden the Shang-Chi in Mogwai's deck looks even better than it normally does.
It is a little bit risky. But, you know, the Elysium on the Reality Stone here is very interesting. But yes, Raven is opening himself up to, in the absence of the Space Stone, which he drew recently. Wow. Raven opting to not pass yet.
Right.
Even though he has a Space Stone in hand. And that Space Stone can win him Sanctum Sanctorum. And he needs that space on Collapsed Mine in order to play it.
Yeah, that means that this turn has to be a skip. There's no other option from Raven, which means, yeah, like you said, Space Stone is now offline.
Valuing the leech extremely highly, and just saying, you know, Mogwai, you don't have a Space Stone, you can't win Sanctum. And he's right about both, apparently. Because he's saying, okay, I'm playing the Leech. I think the Leech might turn off any opposing Space Stones they would be saving for turn 5, right?
And
that must be the logic here, right? Like, you're saving a Space Stone for turn 5 if you're playing a Space Stone in this game.
Right.
So you don't want to give it up. You don't want to give up the information that you have the Space Stone. And now Mogwai is just asking the question of, can I win a tiebreaker here?
Right. Just try
so
to
he's up 16. Stats. He's up 16. Raven's up 17. And so if Raven plays a Thanos here, it's a tie.
It's an actual factual tie. Wow. Oh, Raven is retreating, doesn't see the line to win.
I mean, I wouldn't expect anyone to see that. That's like a very, very tough call to make. Yeah, just going all in on like, yeah, I'm going to play a Thanos and it's going to be exactly enough stats to tie. That's tough.
We knew that Raven's Leech actually only hit one card. We know it was Kang, but there were 3 unknown cards in Mogwai's hand, and one of them very well could have been Shang-Chi, and that just has to be front and center of Raven's mind. So
yeah, I think that was like a very reasonable retreat there.
Yeah,
honestly.
I really like. Yeah.
Whoa.
All right, Raven
early just snapping on Lockjaw. Mogwai respecting the snap on Lockjaw. Just saying, you know, I'm out of here. I think this is sort of the difference between these two decks is that if Raven ever draws something like, you know, Lockjaw Mindstone, he can just snap and he's probably going to win.
Right.
And this is where you see the importance of the Leech versus the Shang-Chi. Like, the Leech is extremely important in protecting your Thanos from these counter cards that are that people are running.
Yeah, which actually, you know, looking back at the other game where we saw that early She-Hulk, the game didn't end up playing like that, but I can see Raven maybe trying to bait out the Shang-Chi to force Mogwai to play it early, or if they don't and try to get value, all of a sudden you punish that with the Leech. Yeah.
Yes. That's the typical play pattern. The cloning Vats is wild here. It just means that both players are probably going to see every card in their deck. I honestly wouldn't be shocked if we saw Mogwai. If Mogwai took priority here, I wouldn't be shocked if he ended up blowing up the cloning Vats so that Raven didn't get much advantage off of it.
Yeah, I mean the other thing is you can do the old-fashioned Carnage on cloning Vats and just have a gigantic Carnage and draw through your whole deck with the stones as well.
Yeah, here's an interesting bit here though, is that Raven has Lockjaw Time Stone, but he doesn't have a good lane to play them on. Normally, he'd want to play them on something like Wakanda, but here he's going to have to play them on either Cloning Vats or Avengers Compound, and then run the risk of blocking off his turns later. Now, since this is only turn 3, if Raven draws a couple more stones, he's going to end up playing them onto... he's going to end up potentially blocking off Avengers Compound. One line could be playing them on Cloning Vats and then playing another Lockjaw on Avengers Compound and just seeing how that does for you.
Yeah, sometimes, you know, you can just play 2 dogs and you're okay having 2 Lockjaw lands. Why only have 1 when you could have 2 via the Cloning Vats is potentially what Raven is going for here. Raven has already snapped, as we can see by that snazzy little indicator on the top. Love that.
Mogwai going for the Carnage play, but blowing up the Cloning Vats first.
Oh, yeah. So we're
this is what I was talking about, right? Like, he's like, I think I'm ahead. I'm going to make sure I stay ahead.
Right.
I do not want you to be doing any more Cloning Vats shenanigans, but Raven may be bypassing that a little bit by playing the Lockjaw Time Stone on Avengers Compound. Okay.
The Kang off of Lockjaw. Now here's a weird one.
You could see Raven laughing when that happens, and I don't blame him. The whole thing gets reset, but RNG outcomes, as long as they happen before other RNG outcomes can interfere with them, should remain the same. So, for example, if Mogwai makes the same play, the same things will happen up to the Lockjaw reveal, which will be different now. Now, Mogwai is making a different play here. Now he's opting to go for a Cloning Vats Carnage, which I think is... Now that he's seen what Raven has, he's like, okay, I'm actually not that worried about the Cloning Vats. You clearly don't have many other stones, or you wouldn't be doing that. I am going to keep the Cloning Vats around and go for the Super Duper Carnage play, which I think is a pretty intelligent use of your opponent's Kang.
Yeah, I definitely like that. I'm biased. I've loved Carnage for the longest time. Okay, so the Reality Stone still turned a different lane into Morag. Okay.
I can actually go into that if you'd like. So the way it works is Marvel Snap is RNG seeded, right?
Okay.
So each RNG effect has in effect, sort of predetermined outcome, which is a very, like, I think, not necessarily inaccurate, but incomplete way of referring to it. The way it works is, if you play Reality Stone and then someone Kangs and then you play Reality Stone again, it's gonna get the same thing, right?
Okay.
Now, but what that does mean is, if Mogwai were to not play Reality Stone, Lockjaw would have rolled something other than She-Hulk. And if, for example, priority had been reversed, Lockjaw had gone first, Reality Stone would have rolled something other than Morag. Basically, every time it has to make a call to RNG, it uses the RNG seed to do this.
That makes some sense, and I'm sure there are folks who are smarter than me that just went, oh, okay, that makes sense, and there's folks who are maybe on my level that are just like, humana. I'll just believe what you said.
We're about to see it we're about to see it in action one more time, right?
All right, let's see if I can get it on the second try.
We have a Kang coming down here, right? And we see a Reality Stone getting pulled off of Lockjaw. Now, keep in mind the order that those things happened in. If that order changes, or if the deck order changes, then different things will happen. If it's the same order, then the same things will happen. But you'll notice what Mogwai is doing is Mogwai is playing an Arrow. Arrow pulls randomly. That's a call to RNG. So we could expect that it's going to be a different thing here. Now, I can't wait for it to be the same thing here and make me look like an idiot live in real time. But...
I mean, I don't think it would make you look like an idiot. It would just add another piece to the puzzle, and I'm Zach Galifianakis looking at imaginary numbers memeing right now, I think. But regardless here, we do see the double snap.
He's gone back on it. Now it's no longer an Arrow play.
Ooh, going to get the Shang-Chi. This like we talked about earlier.
Is this a play expecting the Nidavellir, or is this a play just to kill the She-Hulk?
It kills the She-Hulk and protects it. Like we said before, it protects against the leech, which we've seen Raven really value very highly. It's like, I need to get value out of my Shang-Chi at some point. I don't want it to ever get leeched.
Right.
And it could be in Raven's hand, or it could be one of the two cards that come out of the Lockjaw, as even though it may be seeded, not everyone necessarily knows that and is an absolute expert in how exactly the Kang RNG seeding works. And there's the leech right there. There it is.
Was the order the same here? Is this going to be Reality Stone, or was the order different, changing the outcomes, right?
Yeah.
So if the order was different in terms of the cards drawing from his deck, then it would be different outcomes off the Lockjaw pulling from his deck.
Yeah, that makes sense. The seed was changed, and we see what ended up being.
Actually, that one wouldn't be a seeding thing. That's just a deck order thing.
Oh, okay.
If there's if he played Mind Stone first, it like the card in position 5 in his deck that would have been pulled is no longer in. Yes.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. Either
it's
way,
a weird thing. It's a really weird.
We could
thing,
probably spend an hour
analyzing
the Kang RNG and how to shift that, but
super weird. I have like an actually 10-minute video up on it, and I still don't understand it fully. It is a very weird card.
Yeah, absolutely. But at the end of the day, as the dust settled, it looks like Raven ends up at least a little bit out ahead here, winning Morag. Technically ahead in Wakanda. Mogwai does not have a very confident look on his face.
This Magneto is super interesting. I mean, the double blue Marvel is genuinely devastating to a lot of the plans that may happen here. And it's a big ask, and that arrow pull pretty much slams the door on this one for Mogwai.
Yeah, Mogwai, you can see on his face, not super happy with that outcome. You're losing 3 lanes. You have 2, 4, 6 leeched cards in hand. Now, granted, I mean, you do have some 0 cost, so you can throw some power around, but not very many spaces to play them in, and not a lot of power to actually add here. It looks like it's got to be a retreat from Mogwai.
I mean, let's think about ways he could win this game. No, I think you could play an arrow that takes you. You could try to win Los Diablos Bays with arrow plus Power Stone, and then you lose the other 2 locations. So, unless there's a magical way for him to put.
Yeah, I just don't think. I think you can tie in a location and win another, but then you're losing the tiebreaker. I think is what it boils down to, and Mogwai sees that, and Raven comes out ahead and is going into this next game a few cubes ahead, and we're headed into the high stakes round, Cam.
Yeah, you mentioned you wanted to see how Lockjaw performed in this pseudo mirror. I would say so far we've seen it doing phenomenal things.
Yes, I agree. The samples that we've seen so far, Lockjaw has definitely performed. Pulling a Leech and a Shang-Chi in the last game felt like Lockjaw maybe carried that one a little bit.
Like just ripping through Raven's deck to get him out of a bad situation was really important there. Like, remember, Mogwai made that play to not blow up cloning bats because he thought it was better for him than it was for Raven, and he was right. It just didn't matter.
Yeah, just didn't matter.
Whoa, Snap coming in from Raven. I mean, we have 2 stones, but I'm a little
bully ball here. Is this
might
just
be.
I'm ahead and I have a reasonable enough hand, and we saw Mogwai retreat.
No, he played a Lockjaw. That's a good snap. We're fine.
Okay,
I didn't see him play the Lockjaw.
It still can be bully ball, but
no, it's just a good snap. You played a Lockjaw. You have like Space Stone, and you're just putting a bunch of stuff in the Lockjaw here. Mogwai's like, all right, I have to play the Cosmo in the Lockjaw. If Raven draws 4 cards here and gets a bunch of big guys, I'm dead. And one of the things that this play does for Mogwai is it means that if Raven low rolls the Lockjaw plays, he is actually super far ahead. Mogwai is actually super far ahead because suddenly those stones, not only are they not in the deck anymore to draw Raven cards in the future, they are sitting on the board being absolutely useless most of the time. So if Raven rolls 2 stones here, Mogwai is sitting pretty.
Well, also, I was going to say, if it rolls the Leech or the Shang-Chi, those are 2 huge cards that are now out of the deck.
Absolutely phenomenal rolls for Mogwai.
Yeah.
That is exactly the kind of situation in which Cosmo is good. Cosmo is a little bit hit or miss. People like to think it counters this deck. It can, as we just saw. It just doesn't always, right? So imagine Raven got 2 big guys out of that. He'd be pretty much fine. But Raven didn't get 2 big guys out of that. He got 2 small guys, and he's in trouble.
Yeah, we saw the Lockjaw carry last game, and now Lockjaw may be evening out the distribution of cube gaining here.
No, if that Cosmo wasn't played, I think Raven still comes out significantly ahead.
Oh, sure. Oh, yeah, I mean, the early
It's entirely the Cosmo here.
Yeah, early leech is definitely, game-ending for sure. But
it's
when you're hitting it into... Yeah.
It's a dog-eat-dog world out there.
Yeah, as they say, it's a dog-eat-dog world for sure. And we're seeing some stones out here from Mogwai. The reality stone is always one where if I like the locations, it's harder for me to play because like I want the card and I don't necessarily want to change the location. Now, Xandar is a relatively neutral location overall. So Mogwai's going to be happy to draw the card. Vibranium Mines.
That's good for him.
Up. Yeah.
Raven does not want to put those cards in his deck. Raven is still stuck on, I would like to draw other stones, please.
Yeah.
But, honestly, drawing a 0-cost Vibranium might not be a bad thing. Mogwai snapping back, Raven
re-snap. Love it.
Yeah.
And this is in high stakes, so Mogwai making a huge comeback here. Or rather, going ahead here by a couple of cubes. And this one is looking to be a slobber knocker back and forth. Just cubes for cubes here, and we're in the high stakes round. It is we're potentially 1 game away at any given point here.
A good old-fashioned slobber knocker, JR. This is.
Oh, God!
Feel like you should have saved that for something other than playing a sunspot.
No, it's okay. Believe me, I've got other things I can pull out of my sleeves.
All right. So we have Raven holding a reality stone on this bar with no name. We have yet another Carnage cloning Vats game. Yep. I think Mogwai is waiting on a snap to see if his Mind Stone pulls reality stone here.
Sure.
But, and he's opting to accelerate his Carnage by throwing a Power Stone in it. Even though it is pretty likely that he ends up in a situation where he will have all 6 stones here based on just purely the fact that he's played the Mind Stone. He does have to be wary of the fact that he doesn't have a reality stone yet, which means he has to be aware that Raven might have a reality stone. Raven plays the reality stone right now.
Okay.
Which I think is a very intriguing play in the context of generally you don't want to give up the power you may have to change a location. You don't want to let that happen as early as possible. This is a little bit, I feel, of a gift to Mogwai. Raven just ripping the reality stone right now. Mogwai drew the reality stone anyway. Okay, it didn't matter at all. So it was just a question of when this was going to happen, and holding that for as long as you might be able to adds a dimension to the game. I think Raven might have just wanted to draw the card, or didn't want to think about it anymore.
Right. I was going to say, I mean, we look at Raven's hand. I think Raven wants to accelerate into specific things more so than the Mogwai deck, so does not want to play the Time Stone. And
correct.
Hand not looking super great, so just wants to play the Reality Stone. You want to get rid of that bar with no name eventually. Yes, you'd love to save it, but not really afforded that opportunity here, as Mogwai's hand is full, has an 8 base power Carnage in hand, as we know from the cloning vats, a handful of stones, going to be getting the rest of them if he didn't already have them with that other Mind Stone, and Mogwai sees this as a great opportunity to snap here.
I mean, he's going berserk with this Carnage. The issue is Raven is going berserk with these sunspots, and he's holding a She-Hulk. Now, the Reality Stone, I think, from Raven is like, it's him remembering the fundamentals of what the deck wants to do.
Right.
I want to play stones. That's what I want to do. I would like to play stones. And Raven plays this. Ooh, Triskelion. That's all downside for Raven.
Right.
And Mogwai is basically 100% fine with it, because Raven kind of wants to skip these turns. Raven wants to, like, not deal with this for a while. So Mogwai, on the other hand, most of the cards in his hands are his. He's already played 1,000,000 stones.
Yeah.
He's just gonna keep carnaging. It's. Oh, he can't keep carnaging. Yeah. But like he's just going to keep playing powerful units the entire rest of the game, even if that Electro is 100% useless.
Yeah, Mogwai has the board space right now to empty out some of the trash, which he didn't really get very much anyway, as you mentioned, but can get some of the stuff out, leaving spaces and therefore options for later turns with Thanos, and obviously you want a spot for Kang as well, potentially. But I mean, this is just looking like driver's seat for Mogwai here.
Well, it's interesting, right? There are still 3 sunspots on Raven's side of the board.
That is true.
There is a lot of I can pass and I will win going on here, and Raven opting to clog up Mogwai's hand with the Machine World. That is a very slick play. Mogwai is just not going to draw a lot of cards for the rest of the game. Unfortunately for Raven, the issue is, since Mogwai has priority, Mogwai's stones will still draw him cards. And that's what we saw happen there.
And Raven also has to be mindful to not let the, like, you want to soak with the sunspots, but you can't let them get to 8 or to 9 power before the last turn, or else the the threat of Shang-Chi is there. And as we see, there is a Shang-Chi in Mogwai's hand, so Raven either going to need to keep those sunspots at 8 or less power, or is going to have to find a leech. Right.
It sort of conflicts with his desire to get She-Hulk out there, right? But I do think he is probably going to do that. One note is that I guess Super Skrull can copy Soul Stones, 2 of them.
That is a good point.
That's kind of a thing, right? That's like 2 Spider-Womans.
It certainly is, except that Super Skrull only has 2 power instead of 8, but the sentiment is there. It can certainly help you win a lane in one that you might not otherwise be able to.
I mean, if you're Mogwai, there he is. There's the Super Skrull with the 2 power, the 2 Soul Stone effects happening.
Yeah, and another Quinjet effect.
Yeah, we definitely needed that.
Absolutely. I mean, if the Triskelion would have drawn more cards, potentially that would have been relevant.
I mean, we do kind of have a 4/10 in the form of Helicarrier in hand.
True.
Mogwai changing his play, opting to pull the Sabretooth and lock up Lemuria. Raven has a Kang of his own now, though.
Kang into Kang. Okay, Kang, let's see what you're playing. Change it up. Kang, oh boy. We're changing it maybe back? Changing it up a 3rd time?
Yeah, I wonder what the options are here. Oh, we give him a Kang. Raven. Oh, it disappears. Okay. I was about to lose my mind.
Believe me, I've tested that too. As much as it would be hilarious, I tried to get someone to take the Machine World Gambit yesterday on stream. Like, oh, can we just keep playing Kang over and over again? But it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work. Sadly.
Yeah, the Kang disappears because it's as if it was never played on Machine World in the first place. Mogwai immediately putting the Magneto back down.
Okay. There's definitely some mental gymnastics and bluffing to go.
Oh, but he's going for a different lane this time. He's like, fill up that lane, I'll get you.
Possibly, this does turn off the ability to Shang-Chi the double sunspot lane, but I have to imagine if I'm Raven, I just don't want these. Oh, I guess we would only be getting up. Okay, we'd only be getting up to 8 anyway, because there's only 5 mana, or 5.
I'll tell
energy,
you,
rather.
This is the exact kind of play I would fall for. I would tunnel on all the other options, and then I'd be like,
because of the time stone. Okay.
Ooh, but now there's no Shang-Chi option.
There's no Shang-Chi option, which means
Mogwai turned off his own Shang-Chi. If Raven just passes with 1 mana, he will win that Triskelion lane. But does he have the ability to do that? Because now Mogwai is going to Shang-Chi the middle. The middles fill up, and we have a bunch of power on the Machine World.
Right. We can play... Raven can play the She-Hulk, and it looks like they've played something else that I didn't catch before
and
they put
he
it down.
has that 1 floating. So if he can get to 17 on Machine World, or really 18, he can win this game.
14, 18... Yeah. We shall see. And I mean, this is the game for Raven. If Raven loses this, they are out, and Mogwai will have won. Shang-Chi going to take down the middle in Lemuria here. Sabretooth coming out.
21. So
Yeah.
I don't think there's two cards that can happen here. Except,
it's
oh
22!
my God, there
The
are.
Helicarrier. 22 power, and then the
That is
double
phenomenal.
sunspot. Wow.
That is phenomenal. The Helicarrier off Triskelion being discounted with the Quinjet. She-Hulk, because we passed with 6 energy on turn 5,
Yes.
was
From
free.
the Time Stone.
So the Helicarrier cost 5. She-Hulk cost 0. Raven added 20 power and had enough to float to win the Sunspot lane. That
Wow.
is phenomenal. If I'm Mogwai, I am absolutely sick right now. I am absolutely sick.
It really can't be much closer than that we just saw there. And now
That is
Mogwai,
outstanding.
yeah, absolutely outstanding from Raven being able to get there. Mogwai now in the unenviable position of just having to win. There's no the snap mechanic has in fact been removed from battle mode right now, and Mogwai just has to win games like you're playing a different game on ladder. You just need to win 2 in a row here.
I just can't praise Raven enough for finding a way out of that situation. That was outstanding play. And to use all the resources at his disposal in such a way, that was absolutely outstanding. That was amazing play from Raven.
Yeah, the getting kanged, then re-kanging, having a third different set of plays, being
The
able
turn
to...
5 Magneto, where it sort of forced Mogwai into a situation where he played to juke what Raven's expected play was, right? The Magneto went over to the left, but that's the better lane to Shang-Chi if those things go up to 9, right? And the Magneto going over to the left, if the Magneto had gone to the middle and the Shang-Chi ended up going to the left, this wouldn't have been nearly as winnable a game for Raven.
Yeah, because the Shang-Chi all of a sudden is going to be killing 2 sunspots and get a much higher shot there. And I think you were also winning middle, but we see here, Polaris going to pull the sunspot into the X Mansion.
Logging the X Mansion. Raven gets an Iron Man, though.
Versus Adam Warlock. Oh, no. Well,
Average X Mansion outcome.
For what it's worth, they both got the same power added to their...
I'm sure that makes them both feel so much better, Blevins.
Yes, Mogwai's face shows it all right now.
Yeah,
He's happy
I'm sure he's thinking that was a really fair X Mansion. We both got things that have 0 power.
Oh no, and the Leech hitting 4 cards, including a She-Hulk.
No. My opponent has Greenstone. Guess what? I'm about to get leeched on.
Okay. Worth noting, though, Mogwai having the Shang-Chi when you just got leeched actually could be luring Raven into a false sense of security where, okay, the chances that they have the Shang-Chi and it's not leeched much lower than they normally would be. We'll see if Mogwai is able to take advantage of it.
It is a good card in that context. But, I mean, what are we looking at doing here? The issue is Mogwai doesn't have a turn 5 play, right? He has a leeched Cerebro, a leeched Kang, and the Shang-Chi. That ain't good.
Shang-Chi with 0 targets.
Yeah.
I guess you can... Mogwai potentially looking to just soul read.
Tempo the Shang-Chi.
Just soul read a big play, even though... Is there even a reasonable... big play?
I have no idea. I have no idea. You can see it on his face. It's just like this is just the worst spot to be in.
Yeah, this is if this happens to me on ladder, I've already retreated because of the X Mansion. Yeah, and Mogwai.
Yeah.
Just
Yep.
Didn't have anything to do.
Average X Mansion gamer coming in.
Yeah. And Mogwai, after that just absolutely fantastic game, we get X Mansion.
that game defined the set, right?
Absolutely.
Like that was the game of the set. The Magneto, the double Kang, the multiple different plays that Mogwai put together, the fact that Raven, rather than making any of those making any plays of his own, just simply passed to set up the 2-10s the next turn. I mean, that is play from Raven that was as good as I've ever seen him play.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic plays by Raven. Mogwai, I think, also fought very valiantly here. Of course, you know, sometimes there's not anything you can do in these matches, as we saw Mogwai just kind of dejected there. But hey, that's sometimes how the cards fall here in Marvel Snap. Unfortunately for Mogwai, that is going to be his tournament run there, and it's kind of it's a bitter one to end on. But we did get that absolutely fantastic match just one game beforehand.
Yeah, that was one of the better matches of Marvel Snap that I've ever seen. And kudos to both players for being part of it and making those decisions. Like, I think that, like, it's one of those really fascinating ones. I could dive into that for like 10 minutes because Mogwai made the right micro decision there, which is like, I play this Magneto net there. Now they have to play around my Magneto, so I'm going to put it in a different lane and lock up a different lane. It's just that different lane was vulnerable to the exact thing that Raven did, which was a super pass into She-Hulk turn the next time. Yeah. Right? Like, that is... And even then, normally you probably wouldn't lose that, right?
Right.
Normally there's not a
generated
5-10.
helicarrier.
Yeah, normally there's not a 5-10 in the deck. So even She-Hulk plus, you know, Thanos means that they lose that lane with the sunspots in it. But yeah, there was a 5-10 in the deck. And it turned out that was exactly what Raven needed in order to claim victory there. Because I think Mogwai made pretty much the right decisions all the way through. You even saw like Raven played to block the original Magneto lane, and Mogwai, like, I will tell you right now, that play would have worked on me. I would have been thinking about all the other things he could have done, and instead of just thinking, oh, he could just play the Magneto somewhere else. Like, I would absolutely, he would have absolutely gotten me with that.
Yeah, and hey, it just goes to show you that Marvel Snap is all about playing to your outs, and you know, those outs don't necessarily have to start in your deck. They can sometimes be given to you from the Triskelion, but playing to the situation is something that we've seen at a very high level here in this Raven versus Mogwai match. And unfortunately for Mogwai, that is going to be their tournament life, as this was a loser's bracket. But fortunately, we are going to be able to see Raven moving forward here in the tournament. But that's going to be it for this game here at the losers round number 2. 4K and Best, I'm the Levins, and we'll see you next round.
Hey everyone, it's the Infinity Gauntlet presented by 983 Media. I'm Admirable, and I'm joined by Blevins, who I now finally get to sit down and cast with. This has been way too long for something like this to happen.
Have we really not cast something together? That's actually kind of surprising to me. I feel like we should have crossed paths earlier than this, but hey, I'll take it.
Yeah, I agree that we should have. To me, it's crazy that this is the absolute first one, but honestly, I'm glad it's the first one because now I just get to rub it in your face. The fact that you're sitting and casting with me means that you have been, I know this has been addressed already, but I get to rub it in now. You have been knocked out of the tournament so far. So my first question is, how have you enjoyed the tournament?
Oh, the tournament was absolutely fantastic. And as you've seen, as you, dear viewer, have seen in multiple of my matches, my play maybe was not as tight or professional as you might expect, but you know what? I get to hold my head high as I snapped when Ego came up. I am no coward there, and I also, as you will have seen in a previous video, I have stated months ago, before we knew about battle mode, and certainly before I thought I would be playing against Specimen in a tournament, publicly said if I ever play against Specimen, I will snap against him. And that held true for every single round I played against him in my elimination match. So, you know what? You can call me a lot of things, but you can't call me a coward because I held true to the two things I publicly stated going into this event. And for that, I'm proud.
And if you want to fact check that, you can always check out the previous rounds here on 983 Media. We have all the matches uploaded and ready for you to go. So if you missed anything, make sure you check them out. There's a lot of crazy games, and as Blevins kind of mentioned, his are some of the craziest that are there. So let's take a look at the decks they're playing right now. We are in the lower bracket, the losers bracket at the moment, and we're going to take a look at Cozy's deck first, because I think a lot of strange things can happen when you are playing with Darkhawk. But one of the things I'm noticing about this is that Moon Girl is in the deck as well with Zabu. So I feel like you have a lot of opportunities to set up some very powerful options at the end that can throw off some of your opponent's guessing game.
Absolutely. I mean, we saw before the nerf to both, I guess the adjustment to Zabu, most would claim it's a nerf, and also the, I guess, straight nerf to Darkhawk. Darkhawk, one of the strongest cards that you could be playing in terms of cost to power ratio without doing a whole lot of work there. Now, in this deck, you're really trying to maximize Darkhawk, right? You obviously have Darkhawk. You can have multiple Darkhawks via Moon Girl. You can have effectively multiple Darkhawks via Mystique as well, because guess what? Darkhawk is an ongoing effect. So if you play Darkhawk and then Mystique, you're copying the Darkhawk's effect. So between Darkhawk, Mystique, and Moon Girl, you're getting a lot of that ability onto the board in different lanes as well. So you can really go very tall in two specific lanes. And with the just built-in disruption with Korg and Rock Slide, as well as, of course, the Bell of the Ball in Arrow, you're really going to have a lot of different disruption mechanics, as well as just being able to have very efficiently powered cards like Darkhawk and the follow-up of Mystique.
It is an ongoing effect, so keep in mind Rogue and Enchantress. If you keep losing to these cards, maybe you have some tech there that you can go
Super
into.
Scroll, huh?
Yeah,
Anyone?
you can also use Super Scroll if you're going on that side. Speaking of which, as we take a look at Raven's decks on the other side, there is a Super Scroll.
There sure is. It's almost as if I could see the deck and was keying it up for a transition here. I swear I'm a professional. Yes, we are looking at... We're looking at Raven's deck here. It is a Thanos deck, and a deck with Super Scroll I'm not going to call standard one, whatsoever, but it is, I think the shell of this deck is certainly standard. We've got Lockjaw, Quinjet, Sunspot, Thanos. We've got the normal finishers of She-Hulk, Chavez, Arrow, Leech, and Blue Marvel, but as you mentioned, we have the Super Scroll and the Kang Admirable. We've seen a lot of Kang come up in this event so far.
Yeah, Kang can provide a lot of value to you. You have bluff equity with snapping your opponent in a spot where maybe they don't feel favored, and perhaps you are not either. The Kang will undo the snap because it goes back to the start of the turn. It does not matter what happened. If the ongoing, if the on reveal happens, Kang happens. And yes, we tried a lot. We spent a good hour or so trying to break Kang's effect. It did not work. This deck has about 2 tech slots open, and Raven has gone with Kang and gone with Super Scroll. What a payoff to run Super Scroll and run into a Darkhawk matchup coming into the lowers bracket.
That's basically got to be your absolute best scenario, right? Like Super Scroll can copy a lot of things. Devil Dino, I think, is a big one, which is good in general in the Thanos mirrors. That is a card that you will see a lot. It's actually also just, it's all right to hit off of Lockjaw if your opponent just has is also playing Thanos and has stones, because you're going to be copying the purple stones. You can get potentially double buffed Thanos, or even the orange stone. I'm sorry, I don't remember the name of any of the stones, and I never will. At least I'm calling them stones. The orange stone, so you can copy the ongoing effect and give the lane -1 attack, which is going to end up being maybe not like over the top strong, but is incidentally okay to have. It has those high rolls as well if you're hitting a Devil Dino or something else like a Darkhawk potentially in this game.
So whoever loses this one is going home. The winner is going to advance. So without further ado, let's get into it. Cozy versus Raven. I've seen a lot of that face from Cozy where it feels like, I'm not entirely sure, but let's give it a go. That feels like a lot of how Cozy has been playing some of the rounds. And it feels like regardless of how strong of a spot they are in, there has been that moment of uncertainty floating.
Yeah, there certainly could be, although we see the super flow. I was going to say this deck in general on the side of Cozy, very, very powerful, but also can be very clunky if you end up having these, multiple 4-drops and you're not able to get the cards out of your hand early, because That's an early retreat. Yeah, I can definitely see it. The problem going against Thanos or even just any deck with Leech is that if they snap you early and they can get an early Leech out, it doesn't matter what your cards say because they say nothing with Leech.
So Cozy giving it the early retreat. You know, it's just one cube. How big of a difference could it be? Locations there, I think, kind of messing with a bit of what Cozy wanted to do. A lot of times you want to spread out your power. Another super flow, why not?
Yeah,
Once again, the early Leech and not super big power for Cozy.
Well, we have the opportunity to play Moon Girl and get 2 She-Hulks. As you may or may not know, your maximum hand size in Marvel Snap is 7, so you will not draw additional cards. You won't create additional cards in your hand over 7. So Moon Girl will fill your hand up to 7. It always fills left to right as well.
Zabu is coming back. Like you said, it's an adjustment, not necessarily a nerf. The thing about it is it changed the way the dynamics worked. When you could play Zabu for 3 and then play 2 4s afterwards, it was ridiculous. The way it is now, it feels like it's normal.
It feels fair.
Yeah, which I kind of like. It's endearing, but at the same time, I hate you, Zabu. You're the reason that I was able to play so well as I was. It was the only deck I had.
I like it from a balance perspective, but as a person playing the card, I just want to play the busted card. I don't want anything fair. I don't want anything fair going on in my decks. That's not the type of deck I played. I played every series 5 card in my deck for the first round. I don't want to play fair stuff.
Marvel early.
Yeah, Blue Marvel early and Moon Girl early, notably copying 2 Devil Dinosaurs and 2 She-Hulks. Now, I don't believe we're going to be able to play out all of the Devil Dinos and She-Hulks just because of how it's going to play out, but we might be able to play Devil Dino and then Mystique and have 2 She-Hulks on a final turn, potentially.
This is looking kind of odd, too, here. The Leech is not what Cozy wants to see.
What if all the cards that you just copied said nothing on them instead?
Well, this still can get a bit tricky here. So now Cozy has locked the center.
Yes.
The right lane is full. There's not a way for Raven to change that. It comes down to quite literally how the arrow is going to affect the game right now.
Very good point, which really, unless... No, I don't think Raven, even if Raven arrows now...
You have 2 10-power plays on the right side. So for Raven, it has to be tiebreaker that this is won by.
Yeah. Well... Oh, that's true. Yeah, because we're going to play... If we play She-Hulk now, it will be a tie.
She-Hulk now.
She-Hulk now ties the lane.
Oh, it's not even a tie.
Oh, no. Arrow. So the question is, can you beat Arrow onto the Superflow? How big is that Darkhawk?
Well, Darkhawk is 14 right now.
And it will be even bigger with Korg.
So with Korg, that's 15, 16. It's effectively 4 that Korg is adding.
Yep. Plus 14.
Oh my gosh.
18,
Then
right?
6 more with the Rock Slide as well. I think Cozy might have this because of the Darkhawk not getting hit.
Right. The Darkhawk not getting hit.
Wait. Mind Stone's pulling out some stones, though.
Oh, that's right.
Jeez.
We're lowering the power of Darkhawk with Mind Stone.
Wow. This suddenly got wacky. So -2 stones. I'm just going to let it play out. That's way cooler.
Arrow coming down as we knew would happen. We're taking some power away from Darkhawk, but it is still going to be 10. Going to go back up to 12.
Wow.
It's a tie, and Cozy wins the tiebreaker in the middle.
That is about as close as you could possibly assume it was going to be.
What's really funny is that I doubt either player was expecting those numbers to show up. Like they probably had an internal calculation of like, okay, I'm going to be this powerful. I'm going to be able to add this. Opponent is thinking the same thing, and it's like, oh no, they added 3 rocks, and then I took 2 stones out of my deck. I don't think anyone was predicting that specific power was going to come up, and then it ends up being tied. Wow.
Oh, by the way, there's Blue Marvel. Oh, by the way, there's one from Sunspot because of the Quinjet reducing the cost of my stone.
Wow.
Like just everything mattered at the end. Everything mattered.
That is one of the quintessential Marvel Snap paradigms, is that everything matters. If you think that like, oh, I can kind of play sloppy here. Oh, I could have had an extra power here. Oh, it doesn't matter. Maybe sometimes it doesn't, but it always does.
So Raven going to go for an easy win on the lane by simply having Lockjaw draw something from the deck, which I don't believe Quantum Realm affects.
That is correct, but it could technically draw a stone and be lower than 2, which would still probably not matter because the Soul Stone into Quantum Realm is likely going to be enough anyway, because it does sort of work the way that the Soul Stone player wants it to.
Yeah, just not really too many options outside of that available for Raven.
Yeah.
You know, that's pretty good.
Oh, but
Darkhawk
Darkhawk
actually gets a buff.
Yes, because it sets the base power to 2, but the ongoing effect on top goes over the Quantum Realm. And we see the snap from Raven here. Of course, this is just a free snap from the Kang being played here. You might as well snap. Maybe there's a chance your opponent retreats, but I think given Cozy's spot here, I don't think that they're going to be retreating.
Oh, I would think that. So I would think not either. But this is like one of the mandatory rules of Kang is if Kang effect happens, the snap gets reversed.
Right.
So it is a virtually free snap.
Yeah, because if your opponent retreats before the Kang is revealed, that does not get reversed because then Kang never happened.
That is true. That is a lot of power on the left. And now Raven knows that Mystique is going to show up. Can he do something with this and find a way to win this game?
Yeah, that's the question. And Cozy now does not necessarily have to play the Mystique on that lane. I almost like the Mystique in the Savage. Okay, Raven says, yeah, nope, not going to happen. We're out of here. And Cozy going to take that one down and take a bit of a cube lead here.
I wouldn't call this a bit of one right now. This is 9-5. Cozy's favor. Wow, look at that hand.
I think Dolly Parton wrote a song about this cube differential at some point in the 80s.
There's nothing I like more than 30-plus-year-old references to things.
Hey, it's just a way to make a living.
Spoiler alert, Dolly Parton wrote a song about this.
Yes.
In the 80s.
Look it up.
Yeah.
Look it up. Hashtag not an ad. Unless, maybe, Infinity Gauntlet number 2, Dolly Parton, our phone lines are open. But anyways, back to the match here. We see the vault come up. I think both players certainly have play into the vault. Cozy with the ability to, put something that's cheap but big, like a Darkhawk, into the vault, or even just playing the Devil Dino on 5. You can still have a lot of options to contest the vault. And of course, Raven just has a plethora of small drops that can really add up into the vault as well.
So Cozy going to add Agent Coulson saying, you know what, I think Mystique at the end would be enough to take care of this.
Got a leech off of Coulson. You're never playing around the randomly generated leech.
Yeah, I mean, this is so much power on the left. I would not be surprised if Raven abandons the left side at this point.
It is certainly possible. I mean, we're seeing... Yep, there's the Darkhawk, as I mentioned before. Now, the interesting thing here is that the She-Hulk is being played essentially for tempo because you're not necessarily going to want to skip a turn and get a cheap She-Hulk later on in the game, but it does open you up to Shang-Chi potentially in Xandar.
I'm going to be kind of honest here. I am having a tough time seeing Cozy not play Mystique in this spot simply because if you play another card, the Mystique's not going to get the effect.
Right. Because
it says that the last card that you played has an ongoing effect, not the last ongoing effect that you played.
Right.
And so Raven, again, with the mandatory snap from Kang.
Yep.
There's no fear of Cosmo or something of the like. So this is mandatory snap, play the Kang, reverse the turn, see if it works. Just kind of a mental tax for your opponent, honestly.
Right. It certainly is, because you spend all this time plotting out the best turn. You're generally going to play. Oh, we even see the frumpy face on the Kang, the frumpy face emote on the Kang as Cozy's play is revealed. But you do get the opportunity now to say, okay, do I have a different but similarly powerful play to make against the Kang? If I have the opportunity to make a different play against Kang and try to throw my opponent off even a little bit, I'm going to take that line if it's of even remotely close to the same power level.
Shang-Chi locks up the left.
Yeah.
Great play. The Mystique now becomes the Dark Hawk. Can Cozy run away with this?
Yeah, it's possible. We don't see... Oh, we do see the Shang-Chi. So we can have Shang-Chi plus Rock Slide, I think, is the most power here, and also puts a little bit of extra power into Lemuria as well. But is it going to be enough to... Is it going to be enough to beat what Raven is throwing down here?
I think this is tough to justify because you have to know that Arrow's available.
Yeah, you have to know the hidden game text of Arrow, which is if you're winning 2 lanes on round 6, win the game. And we see that happen here with Arrow really allowing Cozy to win Lemuria by way too much and not win the other lanes even a little bit here. So Raven taking a chunk out of Cozy's cube lead here.
Yeah. Heads up play from Raven there. Always something good to see. The She-Hulk for tempo was a big difference in that one. Kang gave a lot of info that let you change the outcome as well. So now, Death's Domain, I still think like one of my most hated things to show up on a location because none of my decks are ever built to take advantage of this except for when I'm playing a Death deck, in which case Wakanda will show up. My opponent will then play an Armor onto the middle lane and a Cosmo onto the third lane.
Yeah. Yep, that tends to happen. Although I'm a lover of Deadpool, so I really love to see Death's Domain with my turn 1 Deadpool and then end up with like a 64 power Deadpool. Absolutely.
And then Taskmaster it at the end.
Yep, one of my favorite things. We see a Nimrod get generated, which is hilarious because Nimrod, when we submitted the decks for this event, Nimrod was not out yet. So none of the decks actually can have Nimrod in them. But that doesn't mean that you can't get one generated off of an Agent Coulson.
This is not good for Raven.
Yeah. He hits the Nimrod on the throne room. The Shang-Chi makes even more.
Oh my gosh. Raven had the intent to win Death's Domain by moving a Power Stone over. That play is off the menu.
It sure is.
Cozy, I think, might try to play this one out to bait Raven into playing for more. But if I'm on if I'm on Cozy's side, this is an auto snap. I'm actually surprised that it took longer than 1/4 of a second.
Right. I mean, your opponent, not only is your opponent not playing around a randomly generated Nimrod, this is potentially the first instance of Nimrod showing up in this tournament because, again, the players could not have actually put Nimrod in their decks.
So Cozy gives a fist bump here, but he doesn't know it's Kang that's coming down.
Of course.
So now the Spider-Man tech has been revealed,
Exactly.
and Raven knows that this is not a stick-around-the-game spot.
Yeah, I was going to say, the Spider-Man tech's been revealed, but it doesn't matter. I mean, we're not going to get the full snap win here, but we're still taking this one home, and I believe tying it up here if we're Cozy. Oh no, we're ahead.
Yeah, no, Cozy's way ahead of this one.
Yeah.
This is the high highs and the low lows.
Oh yeah.
From this one, where Cozy's gets like the yes, he played out the turn. Dang it, it's Kang.
Oh, dang it, Bobby.
Yeah, you can't touch this. Raven's got 3 cubes left, so Raven is going to have to win 3 games at least. If he snaps and wins 2, Cozy would have 1 cube left. The max that Raven can play for is 3 cubes because you cannot play for stakes that are higher than the number of cubes a player can have in battle mode.
Right. Yeah, and that's one of the things that I think we haven't necessarily seen as fleshed out as we will, I think, in the future with battle mode is just protecting your life total, right? It really is a resource in a different way than it is in a lot of games. Like, you really need to know when you need to keep enough cubes around to actually damage your opponent.
This is so bad for Cozy. I could not think of something worse basically for either deck.
Hovers the Dark Hawk, the lone Dark Hawk. Oh no.
Wait a second. Is he going to try to scam some wins here? So here's something that you could do. from Cozy's side is get Mystique in play after the Darkhawk, and
But
then
the Darkhawk
maybe,
has no power.
hear me out,
Okay.
maybe you can rock slide your opponent.
So you can
At the final
build
turn,
you can build your own 4-power forecast. I like it.
I mean, both players are operating with relatively low resources at this point.
True.
So maybe you can scam a win that way.
That's true. But here's the thing. As we mentioned at the top of the match, Super Skrull also has Darkhawk's ability, though. I guess it checks Cozy's deck. So unless Raven also somehow gets a rock slide, that's just gonna be 0 added power.
Well, let me take a look at the hands here. Nothing generates anything anymore.
You know, Admirable, you may be right here. In the I'm going to play these cards out as, oh, I'm conceding, my Darkhawk's nothing, someone call an ambulance, and then but not for me, and play the rock slide on the last turn and get a couple extra points of power where Raven may have thought it wasn't possible.
Honestly, I think the Thing is better than rock slide because Nimrod's just 5 power,
Right.
and you get to play Thing and Quinjet if you do it the other way. So I think the Nimrod is just a dead card in the hand at the end of the day, unless you want to spread this out differently. So like you're stacking 5 in this spot, and then you get to stack some effects elsewhere. So that would be the difference in a spot like that.
Games.
Holy smokes. I think that Raven might be not thinking about this. And then, of course, you're going to see the Kang. So the Kang opens all the options again.
Right.
Kang has been like a hard carry in the match for Raven so far.
Yeah,
But he's been losing
crazy.
these games. It's all been retreat value.
Hey, retreat value is, arguably just as good as anything else in Marvel Snap, right? Like I said, being able to protect your life total, being able to, have your cubes as a resource in battle mode is something that I don't think we've really explored as a community as much as we're going to in the future, just because you get into these positions where it's like, okay, well, I know if I have X number of cubes, I'm just in a losing position most of the time. So I need to play riskier earlier so that I can not be in that position and play to win rather than play to not lose, which I think a lot of people are naturally doing at this point. Just because battle mode's only a month and a half old or whatever it is.
Raven in a bit of a tricky spot here too. I think that maybe the mental's getting to him a little bit. He did not snap in this, or he finally snaps in this.
Okay.
Again, it's if you have Kang, you snap. So the only heads up play there would be, are you trying to have your opponent play as sweaty as possible and not snapping so that they don't think Kang is coming down, and so it reveals what they truly want to do. And so now Raven gets revealed to the rocks going into the deck and goes, oh, maybe I didn't think about that.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think Raven is in the position where you kind of just have to win here. I mean, technically, if Raven retreats now, they still have 1 cube, but we're going to be looking at 1 cube to 2, 4, 7. Yeah, that's not where you want to be. That is just really going to be a tough spot.
Raven locks it in.
Locks in the arrow. Yeah, I think again this is a play to win rather than a play to not lose, because if you have 1 cube left versus 7, you're basically done, right? Like you're just such a low chance to win 7 in a row, and Raven goes for it and it does not play out. Cozy taking it home here against Raven.
Just what a crazy finish to this one. How often is it that you see Darkhawk and Mystique as a combo walking away with the win at 4 power and 3 power versus a Thanos deck? That it feels like that it feels like to me that might have never happened before.
That's one of the very fun things about Marvel Snap is that almost every game is something that may have likely never happened before, just because there's just so many weird permutations. Like, okay, well, I want turn 1 Mountain into Goblin Guide. Well, that's happened infinity times, right? But any of these other, pretty much any permutation of Marvel Snap, it is a 1 of 1 because of locations, because of randomness from cards, because of any number of factors. It's just such a unique experience every time you play.
And I feel like that's why we got card players from pretty much every single genre you can think of card games coming in to play Marvel Snap. There's something that everybody gets to share about it. It's got a lot of simplicity to it. It's got a lot of depth to it. So at any point you can step in, and at any point you can pick it up and learn about the game and kind of sail from there. I can't wait to see how the balance patch is going to work out, what's going to end up getting changed, how the changes are going to get made. and seeing how things go further from there. Raven is now out of the tournament. We're in the lower bracket right now, so if you lose another one, you go home. And so we're going to have more matches tomorrow, but make sure you check out all the previous ones here on 983 Media. We have all the matches from the tournament uploaded. You're going to want to take a look. There are some wacky and some crazy games that have been taking place. And if you want more, we got more for you tomorrow.